Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for joining Spark Operator Community Meeting. And today, 6th of September, Friday, 10 a.m. Um, yeah, the plan is to basically discuss some of the key topics that we discussed in our last meeting, and then go through the agenda. And we will also look at any issues or concerns that you have and that you think that needs to be raised, please feel free to add to agenda. But then we can start with one topic at a time. So to start with, from the agenda, so the first topic is Jacob. I'm not sure if Jacob is okay. We have Jacob joined as well. Uh, Welcome to Jacob became a new member and reviewer, and he's making quite a lot of progress and he has done a lot of contributions as well. And thank you so much, Jacob. And we need more of you in the community and then to bring this project to the next level. But everyone, please welcome Jacob. Jacob, do you want to say something? Come on a camera, please feel free to say.
I'm afraid it's 3 a.m. in Sydney right now.
No problem. Oh yeah, I know. No problem. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for the kind words. Yeah, happy to work on the project. I worked on an internal fork of the Spark operator at my last job, so I've got a lot
Mhm.
of knowledge that I'd like to contribute back.
Yeah, thank you. I know, Jacob, do you, so which company you work for? Is there just a bit more about you, just
Um,
for the sake of the rest of the people?
yeah, sure. So I was at Rocked before. I was at Rocked for about a year and a bit before this.
Hmm.
And we were using Spark on Kubernetes internally using the Spark operator. I've moved on to a different role after that, so now I'm just supporting it in my own time. But yeah, while I was at Rocked, I supported the data platform with Spark on Kubernetes on EKS. Before that, I was kind of just a general data engineer, data analyst before that. So
Yeah, that's great. And welcome and thank you very much for all your efforts. Yeah, so moving on to the next one, probably by the time Sharon joins, we can recap that. So we can park that Spark Operator API layer for a minute. Let's talk about the release 2.0. Yeah, Yechin, and do you have any updates or anything that you want to share related to
Um,
this?
Hello, I think there are some PRs and we have recently merged. We have fixed some bugs, like the support uh, to, to set Spark job namespaces to all. And yes, the cache didn't work as expected when and we have fixed it. And 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 I also have another PR to
Okay.
create to enhance the back security, like create a row and row bandings for control and webhook in areas of namespaces. And this PR haven't been merged. I think we can uh, look at this. And there is some PR like Jacob has contributed the unicorn scheduler, and I have contributed the kube scheduler to enable guest scheduling on when submitting Spark applications. And we
Okay.
have also reintroduced option webhook.enable to enable the webhook when the webhook are forbidden in some Kubernetes clusters. Uh, Almost this.
Okay. So Unicorn Scheduler, if I understand correctly, so that PR needs to be merged back to V 2.0 branch, right? Is it? It's. it's pending now? Like you're cherry picking these changes back to the main branch?
I thought they were already merged. I thought they already merged to master. Do you mean cherry picking to the branch 2.0?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the code scheduler has already been merged.
Okay. Right. Okay. So the 2.0 branch, you are cherry picking the changes from main to the 2.0 branch, right? Currently.
Yeah, I think we can cherry pick it.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking. So when we release 2.0, I merge it back to the main. Just want to make sure that we cherry pick all the changes that we are merging into the main. So the longer we delay 2.0, probably, that's more of an activity for us to cherry pick every single change that we are merging back to main. So what you all think about releasing sooner? Anyone has any concerns?
I think at least for the unicorn stuff, I wanted to maybe an end-to-end test could wait, but I wanted to get some docs up at least.
Yeah. So into V 2.0 branch. Don't have the PR, but I'll just put that as a pending activity. And the docs needs to be updated. Nikon.
Yeah, I'll pick this one up.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. Right. If you think anything missing from this, I think maybe as we can take this offline within the channel itself and discuss, and we just want to make sure how soon we can release this. Will it have any impact to the existing people? That's what I'm looking at. Andre, you raised hand.
Yeah, I'm just like out of curiosity. So you mentioned a kube scheduler. Are you talking about co-scheduling plugin for gang scheduling, or using something else?
Could you come again?
So I'm curious about like when you mentioned kube scheduler integration. Are you talking about scheduler plugins with
Yes,
Spark
it's
operator?
the code scheduler. Yes, it means the schedule plugins.
And you're basically using this for gang scheduling, like similar to as an alternative to Unicorn, right? Sorry, not for
Yes.
gang scheduling, for basically for batch. I think you have batch scheduling API, right, in Spark operator CRD, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. I think, yeah, more or less I mean, if I put it that way, these schedulers and not just for gang scheduling, these are like batch schedulers that you can add additional capabilities to run Spark jobs. And we have Volcano, I think the first support that was added, and Jacob recently added Unicorn. And Yuchen added the Cube Scheduler plugin. So without having to use Unicorn or Volcano, you can use custom Cube Scheduler plugin with your own changes. But there was a discussion in the PR is about whether we recommend that to the customers or not, right, or users, because projects like Unicorn and Volcano are well maintained, and they release newer versions, and we are safer. But if we showcase any Cube Scheduler plugins to the users to use that as an alternative to Cube Scheduler, probably we end up supporting it, and so on. But that gives an option of whether they wanted to, customize it, use it for that. But yeah, these are different scheduler options that users can use it with Spark Operator today. Yeah, please feel free to correct me if anyone has any points.
And from the scheduler plugins, which plugins do you support? Is it only co-scheduling? Because I know they have also this preemption toleration, right? As I can see, node resources, capacity scheduling. Which one is like applicable for Spark jobs?
I think Yi-Chen, do you want to talk about the Kube scheduler thing that you added the plugin?
We only leverage the gas scheduling ability of the scheduler plugins, and we have we didn't do any other integration of the scheduler plugins.
I see. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, because core scheduling is like the only plugin which allows you to do gang scheduling. I understand it probably for some Spark jobs you don't need gang scheduling, right? So for Unicorn, I guess you're just using this as a batch scheduler, right? As an alternative, right, to default scheduler. Yeah, but for
Unicorn can gang schedule, if that's what you mean.
yes. Yeah, but I think like for Unicorn, you don't do gang scheduling, aren't you? Like with the Spark jobs.
That's what the plugin, that's what the batch scheduler implementation was for automatically generating the task group annotations for Unicorn for the Spark app.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's the whole concept around these batch scheduling is the gang scheduling is the main thing, but it comes with a lot of other features. And I guess within Spark, users really wanted Yarn type of features, and when you are running on Hadoop, and such as queuing, limits on the queues, and multi-tenancy. But those kind of features are not available on the default scheduler. But Unicorn comes with all of that. And I see users using gang scheduling and without gang scheduling with the Unicorn. Just you can enable and disable. But just for the context for everyone who's here, most of these, like in Unicorn, the gang scheduling uses the concept of placement pods. Is it like a placement pods and then replaces those placement pods with actual pods? That's a bit of a discussion going on within Kubernetes community because it actually creates more noise in the Kubernetes API server by creating these placement pods and replacing these actual pods than, to do this gang scheduling. There are other alternatives that Kubernetes community is working on, something called provisioning request CRD. I'm not sure whether you guys heard. So to basically make it more effective than using the gang scheduling with these batch schedulers today. So I'll link that provisioning request CRD. It's still a paper at the moment, but that removes that need of using the placement pods.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep. That's that. And I think we need to have that discussion on version 2.0 to, I would really like to get that out. I know because we can tag it. The users who are using the older version can still use it, but just to avoid this cherry picking, it's that if that is fully tested within the community 2.0, I know you can test it, then we are good to move that forward. Right, so the next item, if nobody has any questions and anyone has any questions on 2.0 concerns before we move on to the pod templates. Nope, okay, right. The next one is pod templates PR. Thank you very much for raising that PR because pod templates is something that really helps for the users, just for the context and users who are using, I know, mutating admission webhook to actually mount these volumes and taints and tolerations and node selectors and so on. It requires mutating admission webhook, and with the pod templates, we are hopefully, we don't have to use that anymore. It just I've also seen for the large scale workloads and mutating admission webhook is being a bottleneck for slowing down and crashing and a couple of other concerns. The issues that I work with some of those customers and they had to disable that and and let's start using pod templates. But this feature is going to add really make it really useful for the users who really wanted to, especially for the mounting these volumes and adding themes and tolerations and node selectors and so on that can handle that. But I would like, Yuchen, do you want to talk about a bit more about the PR?
I think there are some things we can talk about. One is the CRD. We have embedded the pod template to the Spark application CRD, and it will make the CRD larger, like 1.8 MB. And I have modified the way to generate CRD, but there are two ways to generate the CRD. One, we just embedded it, and we will generate the CRD definition in the Spark application CRD. And and another way is to just sorry.
Yeah, go on.
Another way is to embed you can you can see the comments from Jacob. They are
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I was concerned that adding the entire pod template spec would result in quite a large CRD, and I wasn't sure if that was a common pattern to add the entire V1 pod template spec.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got that.
add a computer marker, computer validation schemas to mark the pod template field as schemas. This will reduce the size of the CRD, but we can not validate the correctness of the when we submit Spark applications.
Okay. So just a quick question on this. And today users, if they want to use pod templates and without this feature, they can still point to the pod templates with native Spark configuration, right? By pointing to driver pod template and executor pod template with maybe S3A endpoint or whatever localhost.
I think it needs to be present on the Spark operator image, or it needs to be downloaded from a remote URL. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. But that should exist in the image itself. But it's not the container image.
No, but I think it needs to be on the actual Spark operator image, not the image that gets pulled as part of like spark.container.image or whatever the Spark config field is. I think it needs to be present on the actual base Spark image that's available to the Golang binary.
Okay. Okay, that's interesting how that is. I haven't tested that myself, but okay. So with that, it does mean that we can't use pod templates today with Spark operator without this PR.
I think it's quite painful to use without it.
Yeah, I think we're using it at the moment with so we create a config map and mount that config map to where we need to use the bot template. I think if we put the entire template in the spec and say you have like hundreds of or even like thousands of Spark jobs, the etcd is going to store, I think the etcd will store the entire template, right? So you're going to have copies of the same exact template stored many hundreds of thousands of times, right, for each Spark app.
I mean, if you create a config map, yes, it does. Yeah, go.
For each spec application, we will create a file. We will create a pod template file, and then we call spec submit. And when the spec submit finish, we will delete the pod template file.
Got it. Okay, okay. So there's not, it doesn't, once the job is done, even if the spec is still there, the Spark application object is still there, the
Yeah,
template
the
itself
pod
won't.
template file will be cleared.
Got it, got it. Okay.
Yeah, so I don't know if you guys can see the screen. I know it's not related to Spark operator, but with the native Spark job executions, the way I'm using today is ignore the fact, like just passing the Spark driver pod template file and executor pod template file within the properties itself in the application configuration, and then points to S3 bucket. That's where I put the driver pod template, executor pod template, and then submit the job. But this is going as an application configuration, which is same as Spark conf within Spark operator. This is what I'm asking. So if you can specify these two parameters with Spark 352, whatever the version that we pod supports, not 352, the older versions. And then the pod templates itself, I have something like, this is my driver pod template. It's mainly for the volume mounts with here I'm using SSD disks. And then you can use chains and tolerations, node selectors, pretty much everything. So everything goes under pod template. I'm wondering, is this not possible today? I haven't tested that, and I'm guessing this should be, right? If we add it to Spark config with these two templates pointing to it, and when you do Spark, ultimately Spark operator is doing a Spark submit. I'll link this, but I can try that pretty quick. Shouldn't be. It goes into Spark defaults configurations, but the conf that you're seeing is completely different here. That's how we are not using mutating admission webhook for some of these customers and users I'm using, just leveraging Spot templates. So if this is possible, do we really need to integrate that CRD into Spark operator is my question, or should we leave it natively this way? Is a discussion. Any questions around this?
I think it's more of a, no, I'm sorry if I'm jumping a bit early. I think it's
Yeah,
a
sure.
convenience wrapper around
Okay.
creating the pod template file. I think the field in the spec, I think if you don't expose the field on the spec, then the end user, I think we looked at this as well internally. The end user would have to upload the pod template on S3 somewhere, or we'd have to build it into the actual Spark operator image or mount it into the config map or something like that. Like it has to be present on the actual operator controller image where the Spark submit process is being called, or it needs to be downloaded from a remote S3 URL, for example.
Okay. I thought Spark driver pulls this when you submit the job, when you do a Spark submit, and the driver. No, okay. This needs to be present even before.
Well, yeah, the driver pod is created by the Spark submit command, isn't it? So it needs to be present.
Yeah, present.
For the
Okay.
controller to know what to create. That's my rough understanding.
Yeah. Okay. I'll give it a go, do a little test around this and see if there is a way. But I understand the convenience, and end of the day, we just want to make all these fields are configurable in a simple YAML file, right? And the CRD should allow that, defining, pretty much what we can specify in the pod template spec within the YAML itself, right? So if I just looking at, do you have an example here? Yes. Like that. But it needs to align with the spot template spec. But yeah, do you really need to do these modifications every time there is a change to the pod template spec, or in future? Because if it is a schemaless, there's a comment around it. This is not a big concern. Okay, so let's park this conversation, and the action on this. Test this with whatever the endpoint, Spark config. And then you are still, it's in still review process, right? So let's keep that, but we need either way. But okay, that's that. Any more questions or concerns? Anything related to pod templates? Right. Cool. I know we don't have many people here, but if anyone is using pod templates today, feel free to comment on the PR, and once I do my testing, and I'll update the PR of how that can be used so that we can today we can show that. Just on so that same topic, Yuchen, you also made mutating admission webhook an option to enable and disable, right, with the latest change in the Helm chart. Like, the previous Helm chart, by default mutating admission webhook is enabled, but then you made that as an option to enable and disable. So can't hear if you're saying something.
Yes, we have an option to enable and disable the webhook. I think the webhook just is used when we are used to default and validate the Spark pods and the Spark application CR, and also to mutate the Spark pods. I think it should be enabled by default. So there are some many issues related to the webhook problem. So I think it's we need to enable it by default.
Okay, so we need to enable that by default. Is that what you're saying? So the users can't disable it today and use the Spark operator? Yeah, I think maybe the question is, can users disable a webhook and run Spark operator and run Spark jobs with Spark operator
Yes,
today?
we can disable the
Okay.
webhook.
Okay, that doesn't stop. So the reason I added into pod templates, basically once we enable the pod template feature, do we really need webhooks once this feature is available? That's a question. I guess it's not required. I guess initially my understanding webhooks are for majorly for mounting the volumes and ensure the volumes are mounted before the pods are created, and also doing making that node selectors working and making the taints and tolerations working.
Would it also be for stuff like adding ephemeral storage as well, or ephemeral PVCs as well? Anything
Yeah.
that's not supported natively by Spark Core on the anything that's not available as a config option on the Spark running on Kubernetes page on the actual K8s scheduler backend inside Spark. That's what
Yeah.
you need to use the pod template.
Yeah. Anything related to the volume mounts, right? Whether it's a PVCs or host path or anything that we use, we need a.
Wait, so Jacob, you were saying that the ephemeral storage that cannot be achieved with pod template, or did I?
It can. Sorry, I was.
Okay.
Everything. I think everything can be achieved with the pod template, but the
Yeah.
webhook adds convenience wrappers around everything
Right.
else.
Okay. Yeah. So I think E made it clear in his PR that the webhooks are for two use cases. One is for 2.x applications, which are becoming increasingly less and less common. The other category is for users who are not specifying the pod template. Yeah, I guess for convenience. Yeah.
Okay, so I think the question, maybe Sharon, you're here. Say, for example, once we have pod templates feature merged into our Spark operator, do we really need webhook, enabling webhook for any other purpose?
Functionality wise, I don't think so. But
Okay.
unless I'm missing something, but I don't think it's providing any functionality functional value. It's and also we all know that webhook has been a source of frustration for operator. It can be
Yeah.
installed, there can be install problems. Probably longer term, it's best to remove that altogether.
Yes. Yeah. I think that's where I'm getting to. If
Yeah,
version 2.0 can, maybe maybe with version 2.0 should be in wait for the pod templates to be merged in. And I know you were not in the conversation initially. We were thinking about what do we do with 2.0 because it's taking up time of cherry picking these changes too, and rather we release that sooner.
yeah. Yeah, and Jacob, you brought up that the other Spark operator that recently got open sourced. Yeah, it's from a few colleagues here at Apple. Yeah, it's a still a young project. I'm not sure about the adoption in the community, but yeah, they are not using Webhook.
Okay.
I can definitely agree on the webhook being a source of frustration. So if there's anything we can do to avoid the webhook, but I think that would be quite a lot of work to deprecate all the existing kind of webhook patch stuff and move that into a pod template construction. I think that would be a fairly sizable change.
Okay, probably that's a sensible change to add to 2.0, maybe a pod template, and we wait on 2.0 until we merge the pod templates and eventually disable webhooks. So that might be a good release. What do you all think?
Agree. Maybe you can merging pod template into 2.0 and also use that opportunity to announce the upcoming deprecation of webhook, but not remove it just yet, to give community some time to react and migrate.
Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe in 2.1 or 2.2, then we can remove that.
Okay, removing the webhook, probably the next version. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's my take.
Okay.
We have 20 more minutes. Sorry for interrupting. Should we give space for Jigar to speak about this topic?
Yeah, sure. So, I know we're running out of the time again. Sure, go on.
Yeah, so we are looking, so we were looking for an HTTP endpoint to keep track of these Spark jobs and sort of manage them. The way that we're currently doing it is kind of inefficient because it keeps calling the Kube API for every single Spark application. to get its status. And so we were thinking about adding like a separate dedicated API layer that sort of keeps all the Spark applications and their state in memory. And then we realized that like the Spark operator pod itself in its memory already has that state. So if we added that API layer directly to the Spark operator, it'd be pretty efficient. So yeah, I just want to get like folks' thoughts on like if this is something they've thought about before, or like if they have solved this problem in another way.
Yeah, we have a similar requirement. The way we achieved that was through a database, which just persists all the application information in a database, and all the API requests will be served by another service, which talks to the database to fetch the records. Yeah, but that has the downside that the database there might be a slight delay. Yeah, we haven't explored the option that you mentioned, but yeah, the database.
Is the database is like caching layer here?
Not really a caching. It's meant as a persistence store where we can store history of Spark applications and their statuses, failure messages,
Okay.
for like multiple months or up to a year.
Okay. So will that sounds really interesting. So will that be like built-in PostgreSQL or built-in Redis can be an option for this?
Yeah, it can be. We use the RDS.
Yeah, I mean, with the PVs and
Yeah. I think it can work.
Got it. Does the Spark operator itself, for all the application Spark apps that are alive, does it keep all of the status of each one of them in memory? It does, right? It probably like
Yes, but right, but that's only for applications that the CRDs, the objects that are still alive. Yeah, not for historical ones. If users initiate a deletion of a job, then it will be gone.
right. Okay. Yeah.
So that's that's a requirement for us because so let's say there's an interactive job, a user issues a job from a Jupyter notebook. That job is only runs for 10 minutes and it failed. And then the user maybe did some cleanup, but afterwards they want to still see the error message, look at what happened for that job. So that's then that information will be lost without a database.
Got it. Yeah, that makes sense. So our proxy layer, we use the Netflix Genie project for that. And I think Genie has a database which sort of keeps track of all the applications that are submitted and its state and everything for historical jobs. I think I was more talking about jobs that are alive at the moment. Like how to make the communication between the Spark operator and like Genie or whatever the proxy layer is, how to make that communication very efficient so that the Kube API server is not getting hammered in the middle.
Yeah, Netflix Genie project. That's interestingly, that was a project that we explored. We attempted to use for our system maybe 4 years ago, but eventually we decided to roll our own. I don't exactly recall the reasoning behind doing our own implementation, but yeah, but eventually we did our own API layer, which is also open source, by the way. But yeah.
Got it.
Is that the one, the batch processing gateway?
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
one we did after looking at the Genie.
Yeah.
I can say we actually used that batch processing gateway internally at Rock.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I don't think Genie like provides all the capabilities of the batch processing gateway, but yeah. Cool. So if I think when I get some time, I'll propose something and see what folks' thoughts are on the maybe adding the API layer.
Sure.
Okay. That's good. Thanks. But if there is any kind of proposals or built-in feature added to Spark Operator, maybe worth starting a doc and proposal, and then maybe we'll think about it, how we want to integrate it. I like the idea of, yeah.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good. Thanks.
Yeah, I think
Right.
Jigger starting cap would be really nice for this feature, for Spark Operator. Or maybe folks can review this enhancement proposal and, you know, think what initially what we can implement there, right?
Yeah. Okay. So, like, moving on to the last item in the agenda is a roadmap discussion for Kubeflow 1.10 release, and do we have Ricardo added this?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Ricardo Martinelli. I was part of the release team for the 1.9 version for the Kubeflow, which we successfully released on July 22nd. Now we're working on to form the new release team to work on the Kubeflow 1.10. And since we now have enough time to plan for having Spark Operator in the Kubeflow distribution, I'd like to know about if you guys started any discussions on how to add the Spark Operator onto the official Kubeflow distribution. One other thing I'd like to ask is that the release team is composed by the release team and product manager and some working group liaisons who will sync up with the working groups to bring the topics to the release team meetings and discuss about status of the development, the testing when we got feature freeze reach it, and so on. So I'd like to know two things here. Can we, of course, if there's some feasibility to have Spark Operator bundled into one Kubeflow 1.10, I'd like to know if we could work on a tracker issue to have all the features, bug fixes, or whatever. We could plan for having Spark Operator bundled into Kubeflow 1.10. And one other question is that if we can work on having or selecting someone from the Spark Operator community to be part of the release team as the working group liaison.
That sounds like a good idea for sure.
Yeah.
But I think it's trying to find out what do we need to do to make that happen. What do you all think, Sharon, Andre?
Sharon, do you want to go first? I can give my perspective.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with the Kubeflow release process. Yeah, it will be useful to figure out what needs to be done by people in this community. But I don't see why not. It will be good to be included to broaden the adoption and awareness.
Yeah, just to give for overall like understanding, right? So Kubeflow like combine multiple open source projects, right? All these projects can be consumed as a standalone application and also can be consumed as part of Kubeflow distribution. And some, you know, companies try to build the distributions on top of Canonical, OpenShift. Google did it before, like DeployKF. There are several distributions where actually, you know, deploy all of the components of this Kubeflow ecosystem. So I think it's part of the release, as Ricardo mentioned, we have these liaisons, right, who help to connect working groups and release team. And these folks are responsible to make sure that every component have provide a set of features they want to deliver by specific in specific period of time. So it's similar to Kubernetes, like you have a specific SIG which is responsible for part of the project. Here we have a working groups which is responsible for different part of the ecosystem, right? So we have like training working group who is responsible for training operator, also like pipelines, so a group, working group for pipelines. And then we have this data kind of working group, which is responsible for Spark operator and model registry right now. So I think we need to find someone who can actually be a data working group liaison and help, Spark operator community to, provide this set list of things we need to do for the release before the 1.10 release. I think initially, if we just deploy the Spark operator as part of the manifest, that will be sufficient. I know we have the Helm charts for Spark operator. I already like spoke with manifest leads, like we have manifest working group who can help us to actually use this charts as part of our customized manifest. So we use customized right now in our manifest repo who actually bundle all these open source projects together to deploy. So we need someone who can actually help us to have this Spark operators part of the manifest repo. Yeah, and then I think we should work with all of you to see, to at least like, for example, like, because usually we try to collect the roadmap items, like all these things around, what you've done in Unicorn, well, you've done with 2.0, like migration to control runtime. So all these things will be on your roadmap, and the release team will give this visibility, what's happening with this specific project, right? And also we like record a video after the release, we prepare a blog post, another announcement, which I think will be beneficial for us to say that Spark right now part of the Kubeflow distribution, also for you to, like find more adoption across people who see this, right? Yeah, so I think so Ricardo, from your perspective, what do you think about this idea? Like, do we need to find a volunteer who can be working group data liaison, or what do you think?
So if we look on the working group perspective, okay, let me rephrase that. For model registry, I was talking to Milos, who was the pipelines working group liaison for 1.9, and he accepted to be the liaison for the model registry. If you're looking at having liaisons on the working group perspective, then maybe I should talk to him and see if he can take the lead of the Spark operator as well as part of the working group data. I think this could be one option. In case he cannot work with the Spark operator, maybe I don't know, time zone issues or something. It would be great to have someone from the Spark operator community so we can onboard them to the release schedule for the working group, for the Kubeflow, and also having, Spark operator community closer to the Kubeflow community as we are now part of the same ecosystem, So there are those two options. I'm up to either of them. It's up to you guys to see what's best fits for you. I can talk to Milos next release team meeting to see if he can take the model registry and Spark operator as part of the working group data. And I'll let you know, guys. But yeah, it would be great to have you work with any of you work in the release team as well, so you can, get used to know how we do releases for the Kubeflow.
Yeah, I think that sounds good. And I think within the reviewers and the community, yeah, maybe one of us will work with you directly.
Awesome. So as for now, maybe what we could work, if possible, of course, if there's any way to open a tracker issue and just put a couple issues that you believe it could be feasible for Kubeflow 1.10, that would be great, because that helps the release team to track all the work across the working groups with the potential roadmap for the overall Kubeflow ecosystem.
Yeah, I think
so-
it's a good idea. Yeah, so basically we can we can create an issue called, roadmap for 1.10, and then you can identify all this, items you've been working on, right? For the last several months, right? And they're planning to do before the release, right? What do you think about it, Varachar and Jake?
One last thing. We don't have the date yet planned for Kubeflow 10. We believe that February next year, or maybe March, could be our ideal dates for releasing Kubeflow 10. So we have plenty of time to discuss that. And we usually have 10 weeks for development phase for the Kubeflow 10. Since you guys are already working on developing bug fixing and so on, I don't believe it will be a blocker for you to have a tight schedule in case we need for releasing 110. But yeah, I think just having the tracker issue is good enough for us. Then we can update you guys on all the schedule for the Kubeflow 10. And yeah, yes, that's it.
Yeah. Okay. That's
So if the timeline is early next year, then sounds like we can get 2.0 out first and include that in 1.10.
Yeah, usually you can have like, complete independent scheduler from these releases, right? Like K-Serve, they're doing a lot of like more regular releases, and we just take the latest snapshot as part of this 1.9 or 1.10, right? So maybe I imagine maybe you will have like 2.1 by that time, right? But identify, key features from Spark Operator project would be beneficial, right, for the release team.
okay. Sounds good. We have only 1 minute. So anyone has any questions or concerns or topics to discuss? Otherwise, I'll stop recording. And just right. Thank you very much, everyone, and we will meet in the next call. And thanks for your time. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Bye.
Fun. See you.
Thank you.